What is up, guys? It's your boy Jim Rat Crypto. We're coming at you live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. Today we have Funding Jim in the green room. We're going to be having a discussion about how we can make all these amazing men work together and benefit everyone and have all open-minded discussions. That's kind of what I want. Funding Jim kind of wants that too. Not always the reality of how humans work in the internet, but let's see if we can try to make a dent in the world, talk about AI software we use in our daily lives to enhance our experience. We can talk about the community. And I, of course, want to talk about Pulsechain. I'm really curious to what Sam's going to have to interject here because Sam's a profit maxi. So he's not always the Mr. Roo-Rah like of the room, but I'm Mr. Softy maxi. I'm a softy. I love all my guys. I can't help it. Like, I just can't help it. Like, I would just go to war for all of them, even if I didn't like them, like, directly. You know what I mean? I just couldn't help it. So, but we love profit. Don't get into it. So, guys, we have Funding Jim. Let's play the Crypto in the Morning song. This was created by DeFi Proof. Read the words in the background if you're a Hex Pulsechain or PulseX fans. Let's get it.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way.
DeFi Proof.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
What's Gucci? Hey, Funding Jim, good to see you. It's been a while. I hope you had a awesome holiday and New Year's. How you been?
Yeah, it's. I think your microphone might be a little bit far from your speaking, Sam.
Yeah, just a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me do a little bit of a check. So I changed my camera. I changed my Wi-Fi to a hotspot. Make sure that people can hear, and I've got resolution. Okay.
I think you nailed it.
Hey, is this any better?
That's perfect.
What'd you say?
Can you guys hear me better now? Is this good?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, I don't know if you have to turn the gain up to keep the microphone out of your face, but it's up to you. But yeah, sounds great now. Yeah, really happy to be here. I've had some support messages like, "Oh, you're going on Jim Rat's show," and I've had some, "Hey, why are you going on Jim Rat's show?" kind of commentary. So I do want to kind of talk about that, and I want to say it in diplomatically, ambassador, politically as I can, that I support Jim Rat's show. I like Sam's content. I pay attention, right? I don't catch every show at all. I really don't. So if you talk about some particular topic or it's something that's really off of Pulsechain specifically or Hex content, I will later look for the reels, or I'll, scroll through at double speed or something like that. But, I think that having in general more voices, especially when they're public facing, there's some social capital that is risked. You guys put social capital out there, right? You talk about, this is what's happening. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. And you, as long as you highlight what you don't know as well, and you talk about game theory, about these new products or ideas or projects, as long as you have that disclaimer, and it's not just DYOR, it is like, here is the research you've put into something. Here's what blank slate. Here's a founder. Let's present what they've got to say. Like, I think more voices is better in general. And the marketplace has found a way to sort out the stock market, sort out bond market, sort out real estate markets, the collective microtransaction decisions of a free market decide what's a winner and what's a loser, right? So to some degree, like I definitely support your channel and other people's channels that have that, not totally kumbaya, but like, hey, and let's make sure that my social capital is at risk because I'm on camera. You're on camera. And if you talk about, hey, I'm only putting $100 into this thing. If it goes to zero, it's not going to harm me. Like, realize that people might put 10 times that or 100 times that $100.
Well, on the inverse of that,
authority.
There's 500-day long down stretches where people lost 50 million and no one wants to highlight it. But they will highlight a part of a chart where there's no volume and there's actually like one transaction. So I just want to imagine, Sam, if you started talking about pharmacology and I said, you can't talk about decadurabolin. Hey, why? I like it for my joints. No, you just because it's just, but is it in the same category? Yes, but we can't talk about it. Me and Sam just come from a place where we just look at the facts and we just read the papers. And Sam taught me that. He was like, "Oh, you just don't skip. You just go to the paperwork." And I was like, "Duh." Right? Sam, what do you think about this? Like this whole, like, as we move forward, I just want more. There's so many guys like funding myself, so many guys, we could work together and work really hard. Do you see that's how the world works? Or do you think crypto is just everyone's going to pick their own team and we're kind of just going to go in the future? What do you see as the landscape? Because I know this isn't your normal conversation.
To say off of to talk about what Funding Jim was saying, and then to get into like, the tribalism type stuff that happens. I mean, like, I think a lot of people, what Funny Jim is kind of like alluding to in the background is Zen versus like what's going on with Hex. And to your point, right? It's been a year of Hex being down, right? But something being down for 3.5 months, you're like, oh, there's lots of people who are down 96% in Hex, right? And who lost fuckloads of money there when there was actual money in there, and there was fucking morons at the top telling people to buy shit at the top, right? And then they lost 96% of what they put in versus like, okay, cool. You have $7 to go through and mint something, right? And a 2.5 month period of time, you're understanding that like it is a risk and you might lose your $7. Like, that's an intelligent thing to do. And the tribalism thing, I think I see this starting to play out where, and I've talked about it before, in liquidity, as a liquidity provider, you don't want to provide liquidity for scams. You don't want to provide liquidity for somebody who's going to exit or rip people off, right? Not from the standpoint that you don't want to support them. You don't want to get ripped off yourself, right? And you're acting in your own self-interest. So as crypto continues to evolve, we're going to see a coming together, in my opinion, of cryptos that are designed intelligently, right? You can call them like designed similar to, say, how Hex stuff is designed, or like how the principle is of crypto, how Jack does it, right? Same exact shit. But having something designed in that fashion is going to tie the liquidity together in the future, which then you're like the tribalism piece, right? So how does this tie in the tribalism? Because how Zen has been developed and released on 12 different chains, what does that do? Well, anybody who's attracted to something that's designed intelligently is going to be in that community. So now I don't spend any time on Phantom. I don't spend any time on AVAX, or I barely spend a teeny bit of time on Binance. But I know where to go to find intelligent people in every single one of those communities now, right? And that liquidity is going to be tied together with other projects. So if Funding Jim was on, say, AVAX, and I wanted to go understand AVAX, I can jump into the Zen community over there, because I know the only people who are going to be attracted to this are people who are intelligent and understand the principles of crypto. And I'm like, hey, dude, you're in this community. What are other projects that have similar design to this in this community? Do you know of any? Is there anything out there? Like, and bringing this together.
I would say Hex immediately if someone asked me that question. No, for real. If someone on the street asked me that question, I'm in the Zen community. Let's say this is a couple years in the future. I'd be like, it's not 100% first principles of crypto down to Satoshi's last verbiage, but man, you can earn yield from owning your own crypto and keeping it in your wallet. And there's a community that does that over here as well. I think that my dream is to have Jack LeVan and Richard at some point. I know my dreams are stupid, but if you can't dream it, no one else can. I think Jack is great with scaling, and I think Richard is great with some of these technical points that not a human on the earth can know as well as he does. So what do you think about Jack and this whole saga going back? A little bit of punching, but we've been in this stuff for a while now, so we can deal with that. But what do you think overall about everything? I'd love to know your honest opinion just about Zen, how this has all happened. We met Jack at the Hexagon thing, which now in hindsight is a little bit like, wow, okay. Remember everyone was saying that to me? They're like, he's a vampire. And I was like, no, he's not a vampire. Okay, this is business. Okay. I would love your take.
So it's interesting because do you know why you met Jack Levin at Las Vegas?
Well, he wanted to come meet all of the Hexagons and came to meet the Hexagons, really. And that was.
Do you know who made the offer and said, why don't you come out and spend the day co-hosting? And
oh, really?
Who did that?
I did that.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So the reason that, and again, Jack, I didn't know him personally in Silicon Valley. I never met him before, like his postcard reveal of Hex. And then we had a stream. I can't remember which stream it was, but it was in the early days of him speaking with Crypto Coffee or others. And I think I participated in one of those live streams. But we know the same people. We know some of the same people. And, that gave a little familiarity. That gave a little social capital to this person I didn't know directly, right? It's like, oh, I don't know you, but I know people in your tribe. And there are people in my tribe too, right? So there's that familiarity thing, whether it's you live in the same zip code or, you go to the same hospital or school. Because again, I was in medicine in Silicon Valley from 2006 until 2017. And then from 2013 until 2017, a second occupation I had was operating a startup accelerator. So basically it was a hostel, basically 25 to 30-year-old wannabe entrepreneurs that want to launch a software product or a hardware product. And we know some of the same people. So maybe that's my stream with him as well.
Yeah, so this is his 5 months ago, actually. 5 months ago, you did a stream with Mr. Jack Levin, and looking good, nice shirt. That's a great shirt, but I'm not going to play it, but it's just to show everyone. 5 months ago, this guy was reaching out to others in crypto community, trying to make connections.
Yeah, and then, because it was, everyone knows that the challenge of the Pulse conference was manyfold. One element was, I don't think the organization of the project was done very well. The person that basically got funded to create the event. And there's all that story that's basically online, people can talk about and so forth. But outside of that, I've made a commitment, on my own dime, no sponsorship, no accommodation paid for me, nothing like that. Right. I said, hey, I'm going to come out and, networking is kind of useful no matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what event or sector you're speaking with. I talk to real estate people, tech people, a lot of stuff. And I like Hex a lot. And, and early on, the idea of engaging Jack, it's interesting because we have the reference that was before Zen. Hey, this guy's Google guy number 21. He's super smart. He's operated, these large scale servers and the growth of, one of the most valued companies known, Google and Alphabet and all that stuff. Right. And, his social network and his business network is probably very useful. Plus, he probably has his own capital or capital of others that could come into Hex. So there was so much enthusiasm about him directly then. Right. And then, he speaks on his first principles content, which I believe in. I like the first principles concept. I like the sound money concept, whether it's in a metal form or a digital asset form, whatever. I like those narratives. Those are kind of why I'm involved. Sure, I want to make money on what I put capital to, or I want to benefit in some social capital accrual, right? As far as your network and so forth. Like, I think we all have those kinds of ambitions. But anyways, we as Hexagons were very warm and embracing of, hey, this person might help with adoption. It might pump my bags, right? That's kind of the narrative in the first 2 months or so of Jack. When the event for PulseCon was coming around, the Pulsechain conference 2022, I reached out to Jack and said, hey, I want to co-host. I'm not going to have, super duper video equipment. I'm just going to have like a laptop and a cell phone. But if you would like to co-host with me, I'm going to invite David Gochstein, who's another person that has 700,000 followers, and he's got his media channel, and he talks about meme coins and SHIB and, anything he wants to talk about, Tate or whatever it is, but he gets great engagement.
And he's entertaining, to be honest.
And he's entertaining, and he's a little bit, a fighter personality and things like that, but he's pretty good about it, reasonable. And I made friends with him because of Corey Costa, right? So Corey Costa had a history with David from 2017 and 18, and his YouTube content revealed that even more depth, but he knew him. And so these outsiders, that my point is, these outsiders from the Hex perspective, from the Hex enthusiast, the Richard Hart, product advocate that I tend to represent, right? I think that having bridges without saying, hey man, I built a bridge and you're not walking across it. You're staying over there in that community. Why did I build the bridge? Like, I wasted effort to even talk to you. I think that's dumb. Or building the bridge, making social capital, expanding your network and theirs, right? They're speaking to your audience. You're speaking to their audience if they have one, right? I think that that's a bridge. And, sure, there is a risk that sometimes people get very tribal about. They say, well, the bridge should only be one way. Like it's not a two-way path here, right? Ideas, financial energy, someone else's capital might come into your product instead of my product. Like, there's this competition world, right, of free market. But
it comes from a lack of abundance.
Well,
like, very simply,
I'm going to be a little harsh, and I'm going to say it comes from a lack of maturity. So the harsh part is that, we are, for the most part, 25 to 52-year-old guys, at least as representing myself, right?
I think that's exactly right on my demo too, for my analytics.
Yeah. And so we have a chemical in our bodies of testosterone that kind of drives the competition thing. We have the nature, in my view, of a man, which is our skill set is to gather resources, whether it's people to come to a cause or, financial or tools or whatever it is. I just think that that's a strength that we have had through biology and time, anthropology. So like, this competition thing isn't going to go away. Tribalism is not going to go away because we have a conversation about it in the morning. But I think that, there's value in maturity, because the 18 to 22-year-old that gets into bar fights often, if he survives that, right, however he survives it, and he gets into his 30s and 40s and 50s, like, he looks back and says, man, I was dumb. What was I doing? I could have wrecked everything because I was being dumb, right? So I try to be some voice. I think Sam does a great job about it as well, right, with his perspective, because, again, some people try to tear Sam down. I see it on Twitter. It's harsh. And, I see it on comments and things like that on your YouTube content.
Sam's the only one who doesn't see those things.
Yeah. And again,
he never looks. He doesn't care.
Yeah. You have credentials, you have, some experience, as far as your clientele and things like that in legacy. I think you migrated your interest to cryptocurrency like a year ago or something. But like, some of these investing principles, they apply. We're replicating a lot of legacy. We just happen to be in a situation where, instead of Wells Fargo or Chase or whatever collecting fees, right, for providing this imaginary token called the dollar, which is just a ledger entry most of the time. Now we have a DeFi world potential where you can participate, whether it's LP, like a lot of Sam's content is acting as LP and kind of bringing some highlight to what is in permanent risk and, things like that, and permanent loss. I like some of his content about explaining that, right? I have an impermanent loss. If I view it as a loss, to spend an hour talking with you guys, it's time, right? It's social capital. I have a perceived risk, but I won't know for 4 or 5, 6 months if it was a loss or it was a win. I won't know, right?
But
So
I guess it's the mindset that I force myself into, is that everything that happens is out of abundance. right? So when you have a tribalism attitude towards life, right, that's out of scarcity because you think the world's too small. You think that like you're immature as you know what I mean, as a child it would be. And when you approach things from an abundance standpoint, like I don't give a shit if you win. I'm happy for you that you win. And I know that by you winning, beautiful things happen to me through that progress, whether it's just the inspiration of watching somebody that I actually know winning at a different level than what I'm winning at. Like the idea of like tribalism is just so set in the ways of like a very myopic view of the world and just like there's not enough for everybody. And that's just silly. I want to get your take on LP related to crypto principles, right? So the big difference I see between say Hex and Zen is the distribution of that. That's one that I like. I don't own much, but I like Zen from the distribution standpoint instead of all that just going to one person, right? I like that. Now, as crypto continues to evolve, there could be a time in the future where the powers to be don't want people to have self-custody because they don't control it. And they don't want maybe projects where it's not controlled on a centralized entity, right? So I have this idea or theory that as we move forward, we're going to see more things tied together in LP pairs, whether it be, say, Zen or Hex or Hedron and XYZ, all these things tied together, because in the future, if what the powers to be say that Sam is a bad person and you need to freeze any assets that go in through, say, Circle or any other centralized entity, I will have to know how to get around in a way that like doesn't have to go through any centralized entity. So when you think about that and you see this, right, you're like, okay, well, Trump and Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and XYZ and ABC and player after player after player is just taken down because they don't want to hear the other side of the story, right? They don't have a rebuttal. They can't answer common questions around something. It makes sense to me that in the future, assets like Hex and Zen, as an example, or liquidity or liquid loans or these types of things are all going to be tied together in different forms in the future, because having those all tied together also bridges that gap from tribalism. What do you think about that and tying all those together?
Just real quick, Duke of Booze, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Funny Jim, you rock. A lot of people enjoy Funny Jim because he is willing to have a conversation. Thank you so much for being here, Funny Jim, and I'll just shut my little rat mouth.
There's a horn going in the background. I think it's finished now. But yeah, so, and I appreciate giving this platform. Like, you know, you guys have put some sweat equity into your hardware and your time. You know, you dedicate, I don't know if you do it every single day. I think it is 11 every morning, right?
I'm roughly 11 hours a day.
Yeah. So you put a lot of content out there. I see you, like we did a Twitter space the other day. I think maybe, I don't know, it was Trevon and Jack and you. And
it was the Jack Levan is a vampire hex staker class episode on Twitter Spaces where we all had a discussion about Pulsechain. Got pretty intense.
Yeah, so I see pop-ins. Like, yeah, I think there was one yesterday also that was I posted on my YouTube and my Twitter, which is I didn't sacrifice for Pulse or for Power City thing. I don't know anything really about the product or project. I'm not actually searching for like new things to put $1 in. I saw Brazology's commentary, right? So I'm not looking to, you know, to diversify a lot. Like I have a viewpoint for my own investment thesis, and sometimes I share it and sometimes I don't, right? But what I like is that Katie is fairly public. Like, she posts her image a lot. She is knowledgeable about the sector she represents, which is, I don't think she's a hardcore developer, but she definitely knows all the language terminology to be a great liaison. Same thing with Long Vacation and some of the people that were representing the product or project of Power City. Now, they hosted a Twitter space, and the Twitter space is somewhat similar. It felt like last night to Brother KG, which is for internet money, right? And internet money is going to be a wallet that their pitch for their product is that they're going to kind of be a bridge to other blockchains, right? Now, we want, as Pulse enthusiasts, we want this idea that there's a win-win of Ethereans, right? Today I was seeing that, like adding liquidity or removing liquidity was like $60, $80, whatever it was this morning, right? On Ethereum. It's getting expensive, right? There's a big rush around like this, whether it's a bear trap or whether it's a bull. I don't know. I don't really know. But what I'm saying is the idea of Pulsechain is not only, which I really want, is hex adoption. And so the pitch about Pulsechain and PulseX is great from that view. But there's going to be a lot of people that pay attention to this stuff. And let me get back to my topic, which is Power City. They hosted. When they hosted, I took like 3 hours or 4 hours last night to edit their content, to overlay on top of it everyone that spoke, right? Every single person that spoke, and put their Twitter profile large and prominent so that people that were watching that YouTube stream could say, hey, maybe that person speaks in a tone or vocabulary or a relatable or whatever it is, right? I'm not saying I'm advocating the product or the speaker, but I am saying that it's better to have more eyes and have, hopefully attract a sophisticated audience, a mature audience. We're definitely going to have degenerates. We're definitely going to have rug pulls. We're definitely going to have challenges as Pulsechain launches, just like Ethereum. Ethereum's had the same challenges, tons of stuff. Some very, very smart people built amazing stuff on Ethereum, and some people were assholes ripping people off, right? That's just the nature of a DeFi, no center of control, no social accountability kind of world, right? So like, I thought it was a great template, and I reached out to David Gokhshtein and said, hey, do you want to host maybe 30 minutes on your platform a couple times a month? Basically, if it's developers, if it's founders of these 150 products that might launch on Pulsechain, I think that if we stop our bickering and dick measuring stuff, then it's going to be better, because we can get to these platforms. Like they are watching in general. And some of it is like, our RG3 said early on his discourse channel, you get the audience you deserve. I think that's true. Like you get the audience, what you put out there comes back. Like, so I think that some of the bridge building stuff is something that, if I'm going to feel good about my participation in cryptocurrency and Hex and anything that comes on the horizon, because I have defined for myself characteristics I'm looking for. And then other people are going to do the same thing. They're going to decide, the gold silver narrative, the bond narrative, the stock market narrative, that I should buy a house in this neighborhood instead of that neighborhood narrative. I should work in this career, or this job, or launch this business. Like, we're going to have people that come from all walks. And don't you want them to participate? Don't you want them to have a voice? Like, I am nervous for the absolute noob that loses everything on FTX. I'm like, fuck. Or they believe in one particular shitcoin that goes to zero, and they say, you talked about it on your show. Well, again, I'm usually the person that puts a lot of time into explaining why I view a certain thing a certain way. Sometimes it frustrates ADD people for sure. But like, I'm trying to, in my way, advocate, but also caution.
How is that going? I know you put a lot more focus into, I think you said probably 6 or 8, 10 months ago that you were going to put more effort into focusing on content creation, and you were going to be like, starting to put together a team on that front. How is that going?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think, some people that have come recently, as far as just commentators, like Furu Finance talked about recently, like maybe a week ago, this short format. I know I brought it up to Gym Rat maybe 6 months ago and said, hey, we should probably be doing shorts and reels and things like that on your show. And you had said the same thing that I agree with sometimes. Well, long format is good enough. I'm already dedicating some portion of my life basically to creating content that people can either repurpose or reuse or whatever. And we do that all the time. We use Richard Hart content. People use mine. They use yours as clips and shit like that, right? So it's all great. But like this is volunteerism. Like I have other things in my life. Sam has other things in his life, right? And this is volunteerism. And so I want it to be, like this environment of this, whether it has boundary or not, this idea, this brand to me of what is a hexagon. One, I don't want it to be the toxic community, but there's going to be toxic people in the community. I don't want it to be anonymous, but there's definitely going to be a lot of anonymous. I don't want it to be rug pulls, but there's going to be a lot of fucking rug pulls on Pulsechain and Pulsex, right? There's certain things I can't do anything about, and Richard can't, and you guys can't, or whatever. But we can set a tone, and we can set a culture. And to me, taking the time to write down on a piece of paper and say, here's what I'm willing to put toward the cause. Here's the volunteerism I'm willing to do. Here's after this threshold of volunteerism where I need to have ROI. How am I going to go about ROI? Am I going to monetize my channel? Am I going to sell an affiliate product? Am I going to create a course? And as long as people are honest about their intention and why they're doing what they're doing, then man, I'll support that. I mean, I think it's better to have more voice in crypto than less.
More voices in general, I think, is a valuable thing, because that's one of the reasons I like to talk to interesting people, even if I don't agree with them, or just experts in their field, is because then I get to learn a different perspective, which that some little bit of information or thing that I learn in that conversation allows me to put something else together in a different area of my life that I'm working on, or 3 years down the road or 17 years down the road. And you can grow much bigger and faster by accepting new points of view. What do you think has been the biggest factor? I wanted to ask you about your growth, because then we were going to talk about some AI stuff. How has your growth been, or what are the metrics you're using for growth? And then what are some of the things you're viewing for success in terms of your social stuff?
Yeah. The first couple of years was like, here, I think I'll do a DLive channel. I think I'll do a Twitch channel. I think it'll go to, I really wasn't even participating in Twitter 2-3 years ago that much. I came out of retirement to do this stuff, to participate, in 2019 with like, the Hex launch and Telegram participation. And I dug down into it, but like it was still volunteerism back then too. So to some degree, I'm like, I don't want to be a social influencer, but somebody has to. Did you know that David Bowie didn't want to be a singer? Did you know he just wanted to write songs and have other people sing his songs? And he said, well, nobody else is doing it.
I don't know who that is, but I'm assuming it's a singer and he's successful.
Yeah, well,
that's a cool concept though. Like, I never wanted to be the singer, but I was just, God made me to be that mother. I really do believe in. Me and Sam talk about higher power stuff. If we kind of keep it very open in general when we go there. And sometimes I feel the same way. I was like construction workers, like I'm so good with Gab, and I love talking. I wake up every morning, talk to Sam. I'm the happiest guy in the world. Like I just like it. Like I want to talk. I want to chat. And I'm like, this is just me. Like I'm not the smartest. I'm hardworking little crazy guy, but I love to chat and keep everyone's morale up. And on this show, we talk about emotional fitness a lot. I don't think you can make good decisions in your finances unless you're in an emotionally fit position. And I think the most peace in this world comes from emotional fitness. It can really change perspective. But I digress. Sorry for jumping in too much.
You're good, dude. That's an accurate statement. And I think, and I used to be traveling a lot more than I am now, so I haven't been traveling quite as much. So I'd like to get Funny Jim's opinion on this, but I think we're seeing the swell before like a tsunami of people, men and women, are waking up to the reality of like, there's so many misconceptions and so many things out there that are just like false. Like all you have to do is look at the last 36 months and you watch what the government tells you to do with your body, right? Like inject yourself with poison, right? And all this other shit versus like something intelligent, like go work out, improve your diet, get some sunlight, like just like simple shit like this. And you recognize these things. And if that's so blatant in your face, then you don't realize that this is happening in every single arena that you consume content in or pay attention to. It is happening behind the doors and you're just not aware of it. So we're seeing this swell, I feel, of more people awakening to the reality that like there's a world out there and there's a lot of people out there that don't give two F's about you and are 100% about making money and or power and control over other people. And I'm curious, Jen, is this something that you're seeing or you're picking up because you've been traveling around a lot more than I have lately? Is that something that you're seeing globally as well?
Internet connected places have a worse time of trust. Like you learn instantly in California what happened in Florida, some terrible thing that creates paranoia for you. You learn instantly, whether your cell phone connection or whatever, all the feed that you're choosing, like the algorithm is feeding you more of what you're already gobbling up. And it's terrible, honestly. I think we're at the all-time lows, in my view, of trust. You don't trust the news channels, whether it's mainstream media or, you don't trust the politics, and intention. You don't trust the vote. You don't trust a lot of stuff. Like, I don't think in the American culture, maybe Western Europe culture. Outside of that, there's a lot of like Latin America, a lot of, Eastern Europe is, in some parts of Asia, like the less populated areas of Asia, is like person-to-person referral, person-to-person sale, person-to-person commitment. And again, I think it is because there's social capital. Like, you live in my village. Like, don't steer me wrong by telling me to go to the wrong place. Like, even looking for real estate, again, I talk about real estate enough to where there's these efficient markets that you would say, you have the MLS listing service and you can basically find a house that's available and they're probably going to be put on the internet, for you to access that, or a broker that's going to do it on your behalf in the United States. And you'll find and close on a sale that might be, expensive property, but it's the going rate because everybody can do the same thing, find the same thing. And now there's just competition of price. In less efficient markets, as far as real estate, it's personal referral. You're walking down the street, you're looking 4 stories up to see a for sale sign in a window, and that's their advertising. So if you're not actually, feet on the ground, you're not going to see what's for sale. If you're not networked with people directly, they're not using internet tools to the degree that Western Europe and Eastern Europe are, Western Europe and USA are. So like, it's the same thing. Your personal brand is what's going to matter, in my view, over the next couple of years, because you do have these things like AI. You have what is it? Was it face replacement stuff? What is that called?
Well, there's like the snap filters in every different way, like for the AI, for the artwork.
Deepfake is going to rise. And so right now, here's the deal. Like, I respect your audience in the fact that you have, some number, maybe in the hundreds sometimes, viewing you live. And on replay, you
131 live right now. Smash that like button.
You can look at your analytics and say, here's what gets viewed over the course of a week, right? But right now, here's what's happening. You're establishing your bias, and you're showing it to the world, and you're engaging people, and it's kind of forming your opinions, right? You're kind of in this learning curve, conversation, content. Now, if you survive 2 or 3 years from now of doing this content, your views probably will have funneled down, your views and how wide you are about what you'll engage and what you think is good. But like, what if it makes a hard left? What if it's the the deep fake version of Jim Rat, because Jim Rat's talking to 100,000 people regularly? Like, we need, as human beings, congruence. Like, you tend to have been this. Now I have learned from my experience with you how you tend to behave and how you tend to communicate and how you engage, and whether you're hostile or whether you're diplomatic, whatever it is. Now, if you, in a couple of years, have a deep fake, and because your channel has grown so big that your audience matters, to be deep faked. That is, and you make a hard left or hard right, the audience that has been with you should know, hey, that's not Jim Rat. He wouldn't say, go to this shitcoin. He wouldn't say, that this is none of the principles I cared about years ago, and now I'm selling out or I'm converting my views or something, right? So like now, while we have small audience, like you said, like Sam was saying about how many people are coming in, super tsunami, potential super cycle really of the macroeconomic world, the Federal Reserve, what's going to happen over the 23, what may happen as far as the happening of Bitcoin and all these other things layered, politics of the presidential election. There's a lot of stuff over the next 18 months that could potentially be the biggest bull market we've ever in our lifetime seen. Potentially, there's potential because there's kind of like a coordination of these cycles. And, your audience right now is hundreds, maybe thousands, a few months from now, maybe tens of thousands beyond that. And so you establishing your how you represent yourself and how you either lead or influence your audience is what matters. That's why I am going on channels. I go on your channel. Alex is another great guy that is Crypto Weekly Review. And he is the biggest hex troll. Like his memes are funny and they've been funny for years. And he's been blocked by Richard for a long time. And I'm friends with him. And I brought him out on his own dime, but he came out to Las Vegas so that I could network him and bring him into different circles. It's the same thing I did with Jack. It's the same thing I do it behind the scenes. Is I'd rather have more exposure as long as the people I talk with kind of know my view, not kind of, but they do know my views. Here's why I'm willing to ride this risk. You talked about, Jim Rat said earlier in the show, people rode $50 million worth of paper value down to, 2%, whatever the number is, right? That's true. That's true, right? Some people sold, some people didn't sell. Alex, Crypto Weekly Review talks about it on his channel, small channel, fledgling channel, he puts like 7 or 8 hours into a 12-minute video. Like he puts a lot of time into his releases, right? But like, and for like, I don't think that he should be squelched. I think he should be, considered. And it's infotainment. I like him as a person and I like his content, but for probably several months of his early content, he was a brawler about Hex, even though he bought Hex, staked Hex, sold the top on Hex, will buy the bottom on Hex. Like he's not embraced as the warm and cozy. It's the same thing that Jim Rat was saying. He's wearing a Hex shirt. He talks about this other community. Someone asked him on the street why he would believe in a particular thing, and he's going to explain his views, right? I like that. I want more people doing that. Do I feel bad if people get wrecked because they went on Crypto Coffee show and they talked about Dodeca? Yeah, I feel bad. Man, it probably was.
But in reality, me and Sam did an episode on Dodeca, and we worked through it very slowly. Sam looked at me like this. Like that. 10 minutes Sam went like this. Sam went like this. He kind of perches up. We have little like sub communication. Like I know when he's upset, and he'll start perching up and saying, "My time's getting wasted here." Like that's kind of what I will be. And I told everyone, we said to him directly, like, I understand that you can't publish these things now. That one taught me that even if you're right, sometimes you can't publish a thumbnail that says Dodeca on it. It's true. No, it's so true. It's true. We nailed that interview, and I got so much shit for that. But it was right. I wanted views at the time. It came up, and I didn't know it was predatory, of course, but I wasn't into it. I didn't like it. And it caused a lot of trouble. So I dropped that guy's thing in here. Really quick, guys, I am so happy. 170 in here. I want to give some of those new guys just a little taste of behind the scenes real quick. So I'll show this. So I went from putting in 3 hours of effort into my channel to roughly 10 for about a week straight. And this is what a month will look like if you're getting started on a YouTube channel and you're going pretty good, pretty hard. Okay. I've had up to $3,000 in 1 month of revenue, I think. But on average, if I'm just doing ad revenue, we're talking $838 for this 30-day period. And guys, I'm going really hard, and I'm not making You can imagine, guys, I've made more money than $836 a month, but I'm just trying to show you guys if you could do what you like in this world too and put a little effort in, and you can have a really great experience and add to other people's things. So if anyone wants to talk to me about starting a channel or something like this, I will be legit with you, but it takes a lot of effort, of course. Again, I'm going to stop for that. I just wanted to show.
That's amazing. And again, kudos to you for sharing. It certainly isn't something people have to open up their checking book and say, here's the proof. That's great that you do it. There's a lot of people that talk about 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. They say, I don't have capital, whether they're, during the day, like you do a lot of day stuff, but maybe at the evening, they participate in a stream. I think it's great when there's a couple of hours of, 4 or 5 people talking, anything they want to talk about, including crypto. But I don't think that builds a channel or brand necessarily. It's just a familiar person that lives in the neighborhood on the block. I think you guys actually do research. You bring on, interesting, potential founders or potential developers. You get viewpoints. And say it's $800 times 10. What is that? Maybe one of these things you speculate on works out. What if it's 100? What if it's 1,000? What if it's Pulsechain, Pulsex? What if it's the thing that will launch on, these networks, whether it's Pulsechain or others? And it brings like this, not just ROI. Like, again, I say this pretty often. You can make a shitload of money selling crack to little kids. Does it make you a good person, a wholesome person? Does that benefit your community, your neighborhood? Does that, do you want to live in that world? Like, I care about people, understanding early in their influence journey, hopefully avoiding some pitfalls, but they're going to have to stumble. They're going to have to say, oh man, probably shouldn't have shilled that to you guys. Like, they're going to have to go through that process, or they'll be here for a short time and they'll disappear. They just won't come back as a content creator. I see that. So again, I have I don't even know how to explain the relationship with Joker. But I was one of the first people to interview Joker when he came on, when they went to his DLive channel and basically flooded his streams and brought him into hacks. And he was enthusiastic early on, and he was technically savvy about his streams, like his software and things like that. His broadcast experience and things like that. I think that was good. There's a lot of characteristics I like about Joker. I just posted again, but I apologize about the delay, but it was 14 hours total that I recorded for the Pulsechain conference in Las Vegas. And I invited Joker, come on, man, come out, like come to the event. I know that there's a lot of heat back then that was going on about him and about his advocacy of the program and all this other things he was going to do. I said, come on, man, like let's come be on the show with me. Let's talk. Right. And I think that I'm not saying it's an olive leaf necessarily. I'm saying that like you have to build your integrity and your boundary as a man or woman, but as a man, I have this like this is my experience. This is a life I've led. In my youth, it was farming. You're accountable. You're not pulling your weight. You're not work ethic, right? In my 20s, it was military. Hey man, people will die on the battlefield if you're not up to snuff on your skill set. Like this will happen, right? And you're going to be accountable. I was in medicine for 20 years, cardiology, all the diagnostics, all the different implants, all the different things related to robotic hearts and left ventricular assist devices. So I had credential and livelihood at risk. But you know what else I had? I had people's lives at risk, right? So like I've lived 30, 40 years of accountability. And I just want to be that person that says, hey, there's social responsibility about what you do here. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk with people, you should, but like define early on your values and why you're in this market.
That's very challenging for a lot of people to do that. It's extremely challenging. You talk to somebody, what is it that they want to do? I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were asking for help on some stuff, and you ask them like what they want, like what's important to them, right? And a lot of people just struggle with that because it's not something that's taught. It's not something that people encourage in school, right? To go out and find yourself. And one of the easiest ways to do that, in my opinion, is by going through and writing your thoughts down. Because how do you find yourself? Well, first of all, you have to know how to like communicate, right? And most people don't know how to communicate, period. And so by going through and writing out your thoughts on what you're thinking, whether it's like, oh, I'm pissed at my girlfriend because XYZ, right? And you understand your thinking process, this allows you to get to a place where you can think more clearly. Like if you're in a boat and there's these big waves coming and it's a canoe and there's these waves that are blowing and knocking you around plus the wind, like it's hard to think about certain things. And that's where a lot of people are with like in their life, with their ability to communicate, with their ability to think clearly about like anything in their life, because they're in this boat and it's rocking all over the place. And they don't take the time to write down their thoughts and think about what they want in the future. We had mentioned AI, so I wanted to touch on AI before we like get out of here, just to make sure we touch on the topic. What are your thoughts on AI? I use it daily for several different things, and I use it in my business for a couple different things, like training people how to use one of the AIs that's out there to help me grow in other ways with my business. What do you think of AI? What do you like? How do you feel about this? And do you have experience in this yet?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I did see, I think Money Gang Crypto, he did some like an hour or something about AI the other day. Some other people have done some content as far as our, kind of community or people that do content. I think it's great in general that we understand this thing that will change humanity. It has been in the process for a long time, but now we have a website we can put in, text, and that text can be basically create content that is, it is going to displace a lot of like people, but people have been displaced for as long as there's been people. Like they migrate because of climate, they migrate because of hostile, dangerous animals. Like we have been nomadic, even though we have a home and we have a factory or a hospital we work at or whatever it is. Like we are one of the most adaptable creatures on this planet. We have people that live in very harsh desert environments and very cold environments and all these other things. Like we're adaptable, and we'll adapt on this too. This will be a new thing that we will adapt to as well. I think
sorry, go ahead.
The tools that there's a website. I think who covered it. I can't remember what it was. There's a website that lists like all the new AI tools, and there's like 10 per day that are coming out right now. And they're using it for obviously graphics and images and, coding, basics and all these other kinds of things are happening as well, right? It's very, very interesting. And I would like to be far more efficient. One reason why I think that we as enthusiasts about crypto gravitate to Twitter is it does hit dopamine. You do make a little, 200 character, tweet, and then you wait for the response and you get your, validation, or you pivot and do some other content. And it takes up so much of our time to be so engaged with a single platform. Or YouTube, you say, okay, now I'm going to learn the streaming game. I'm going to learn the content creating game. I'm going to try to figure out the SEO and figure out the hashtags and all that stuff, right? And then you're like, well, there's a different platform, DLive, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and you just have a time suck, right? And I think that there's going to be an AI that just you talk with, and you say, here's my distribution channels. Let's go where the audience is at, that people are consuming the content. It gives the greatest network expansion. I truly believe your network is your net worth. Whether it's social capital or financial capital or access. I know a lot of people that are worth 500 million to several $billion, right? And some of their friends don't have two pennies to rub together, but they're on the same boat. They're in the same environment. They're living on the same beach, right? And they're just friends. Like they're just nice, gregarious, fun people to be around. Like how do you it's kind of easy to see that the girls that get through the gate at the club are usually the hot girls, I think that men's talent is not necessarily the hot to get through the gate. It is our social capital. We develop it. We develop our strength of social and socializing and definition. Like we define ourselves. Why do you pay attention to Warren Buffett? Why? Why do you pay attention to Elon Musk? Why? Why do you pay attention to Trayvon or Jim Rat or Sam? Why do you pay attention? You're going to define those things. And I just view it. I think that our strength as a community is that we do have this pretty good launch of a couple of years where we only talked one product. We didn't have a lot of distraction. We have a lot of content online that we can reference and go back to. And now we're going to have this brave new world of a new L1 and a new DEX and communities we didn't really engage for a couple of years as far as other blockchain L1s or tribes or things like that. So now's the time. The bear is the time to build your brand. The bear is the time to define your character, to reveal your integrity, whatever that is, define for yourself and for your audience. Like, I think that this is the best time to build.
100%. And with AI, if you look at, say, articles on AI, inevitably they will take the fear approach, right? Like, it's coming after your job. You're going to lose your job. Your friends are going to lose your job. And these may be accurate, right? But what they don't talk about is the opportunity that has just presented itself. For the first time in history, people now have a tool to create whatever it is that they want. And there's people that are working at Costco making $43,000 a year that now have a tool that allows them to 10x what they're making and or just make the same amount of money sitting from home with like their freedom of their time.
They could just review Costco products and go home.
1,000, but this tool is it's gonna displace people. Cool, but I think one of the areas that I see in the media that they're ignoring, this is going to open up so many more doors than it did close doors. When the whatever the first vehicle that like Ford came out with, right? That came out. You know what it did? It put a lot of people out of business. Who did horses? Who maintained horses? Who fed horses? Who cleaned up the shit around horses? All that kind of stuff. And yet, at the same time, the automobile opened up so many new doors of possibility and opportunity for human race. Same exact thing is going to happen with this AI, but the media is going to tell you fearful. The media is going to tell you you're going to lose your job. The media tell you the AI is going to take over everything. Yes, the AI is going to impact everything, but change that mindset to recognizing this is the tool that allows you to do anything. I use the analogy of a hammer. If I have a hammer, I could break a window, I could kill somebody, I could build a table, I could pull a nail out, I could use it as a paperweight, right? You can maybe do 50 different things with a hammer, let's say. Now, with AI, you have the expertise that is every single tool in Home Depot at your fingertips to build anything you want to be able to build. And everybody's just like, oh, I don't have that. I'm going to lose my job. I can't do that same repetitive thing that was boring as fuck to start with. And I have to do something else, right? And you have to now be more creative to figure out how to do things. And I don't know, I see it as such like this massive, massive opportunity for people that like the internet has expanded, right? GRC is we're all making money online. Really, whether it's like
people are hitting me up literally like, dude, can I have $200 of your time? I want to know what tools you're using for AI. Like literally just that, like just as simple as that. And I'm like, dude, I'll just send you the links. Like, me, I'm always like, if it's simple as that, like I'll send you the links. But for real, I now understand the cutting tools for this certain platform, and people have noticed it on my channel. And then people are like, hey, what are you using? And then Sam taught me that one. And then there's, but just know, guys, you think that giving this to everyone will make everyone good, but passion, you have to have the passion, and then you have to, you got to make good content and not use all your time. And I think young men are going to have more jobs. I could quit everything right now and just do consultations for making a YouTube channel, probably, if I really wanted to do that. And I would just say, hey, these are the things you need to do. These are the things you got to start. You really got to get into Twitter. You really got to get into this. So there's so many avenues. It's like saying the fax machine killed jobs. Like the fax machine only made job experience more efficient. V3 only makes liquidity more efficient. V4 will make all of these things make life more efficient, but 90% of people won't pick up the tools in front of them. So don't feel like everyone's doing this now, I can't do anything. No, it's the opposite.
To your point there, like if you felt that you missed out on the internet thing because you're sitting here watching this and you're like, hey, Sam makes money online and he does whatever he wants. He's effing retired, right? GRC sits at home and talks to people all day and makes a living, right? Funny Jim's traveling all around the world, meeting with different business people for fun to expand his network. Well, you can do that now. And just like you missed out the boat on Google Ads 15, 18 years ago, you missed out the boat on Facebook ads, right? 2010, 2011, 2012, where you could make millions of dollars a month like that. This just is starting. And if you get on board with learning and how to utilize these tools, you're going to have that capacity to be able to expand, to create whatever it is that you want, because we're early. Even if there's thousands of people out there, it is so early. This thing is the beginning of the decade, and this thing is not going to stop. Just like
ChatGPT, 5 million users in SAM. How many days? Like 5 days. I think it got to 1 million users. Or 5 days, it got to 1 million users. Facebook took 2 years.
Why hasn't it
2 years?
And it got bought for 10 billion, I think. I think Microsoft just bought it for 10 billion.
They invested. Yeah. Why haven't you tested it yet? Funny Jim. That's a good question.
So I'm using a couple of things, but it's just basically so they can do these shorts basically on the prompt that Furu had put out there. And again, I'm not like, I don't know, like I'm a tourist at the same time that I'm engaged with this community, right? Like my knees are going bad. Sooner or later, my lungs will go bad. I still want to see the Great Wall before, even though the Great Wall has the Starbucks in it now, or I go to the pyramids, and right outside the pyramids is a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, I want to see stuff before everything homogenizes and becomes a franchise. Like I'm in a pseudo let's travel, and oh yeah, I'll go. I think I'll go to that boxing match in New Jersey for like the guy that was talked about, right? So like, I like that. I was like, okay, I've never been to that part. Okay, now in New Jersey, it's off the list. I'm not going back.
Yeah, New Jersey's that one and done kind of situation.
Yeah. So, there's other things to see for me. And, I don't mind living 6 or 7 months of a year in a hotel or Airbnb. So it's kind of my phase of life at this point. So what I'm getting at is, I'll embrace the AI thing because it makes my volunteerism more effective. It makes my position of, occasional voluntary diplomacy, something that doesn't challenge the rest of my day life, right? Like I like the AI tools that are coming online. People that actually want to monetize and want to build something. We've always had the 80-20 rule. Here's another thing, 20% of people will buy, 80% will rent, 20% of your effort and your will yield ROI, and 80% is loss. Like, there's all these different things about 80-20s. And there was something I was going to say earlier is this concept of becoming a 1%er as far as an income or whatever. That people are moving into being 1%ers, and they're falling out of being 1%ers. So it's not the same people that are always ruling the world financially. These are people that move up and down. And so like an example would be Elon Musk. Elon Musk, there's some content out there about, I think it's his mom being interviewed about his abusive childhood. He had a very abusive childhood. His father was very violent, a lot of violence in his household. He had this natural resource of his intellect, but he directed it, right? Einstein directed his intellect. Richard directs his intellect to the products that he cares to build out, right? For his reasons and intentions. Like, I like direction. I like people that choose a direction, especially when they have abundant, whether it's talent or skill that they can pick up or ambition. Like it's an amazing, that's one reason why once I got out of medicine or was pivoting out of medicine, it was embracing this startup culture. I like startup culture. I like the 22-year-old to 30-year-old that says, hey, I want to make a mark and I'm willing to put it in the time, and I just need network, like access to people, or I need capitalization, financial or social or whatever, right? Like I like that environment. And I think that that's been a great launch pad for this Pulsechain narrative, PulseX narrative, DeFi space, build things, environment. So yeah, if AI assists in being more efficient, so you can be focused on, or you can put your life toward leisure or other tasks, then fine. That's great, man. I love it. People will adapt.
Before we head out, I wanted to say thank you so much, Dolomite, for the 5555. That's a 5555er. And guys, everyone in here knows that I have some 5555 stakes. And I wish that the community would use me for my talents as best as they could, because I love my 555 stakes with 10x Hedron bonuses on the butt end of those. Those things really, I look at them every once in a while and I get happy. I'm happy and I'm excited for my future. And I think maybe this will work out, that'll work out, but whatever, I don't know the future, but I like having trustless yield that I can't get my dirty little degen hands on. And I've always said that. And I've always had problems with a lot of gas fee stuff, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, if this stuff works out, GRC is going to be happy, man. And I want that reality to be the future, because I think I can put more of an impact on the world. This is a lot about finances too. If my parents, I can promise you, they have no idea why I'm doing this. They do not, they could never figure out why I'm doing this. And I'm just like, crypto is just as influential as the internet, in my opinion. And we're not there yet. And I want to help get to that point quicker. So thank you so much, Funding Jim, for your time. And I think that you stand for a lot of the same things I stand on. I'm glad we have that mutual respect. I know how you roll and you kind of know how I roll. So it's cool. Like, we don't have to be like, you know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. Sam, you brought some heavy, amazing clips are going to come out of this one. That's all I know. And Funding Jim, and I would love to show you some of the tools that I've used, like on you just published that big old the Hex conference, and I watched the whole thing, of course. But again, people wouldn't believe that I did, but I love it. I love it. And I would love to show you some of the tools I'm using.
Yeah, let's do a dedicated stream, or actually also before you go, check your DM, Sam. I DM'd you on Twitter in the past. And then if you want to do a dedicated show that really is only the AI topic and kind of go through a roster of whether it's your tools or things that you think are maybe useful, I would love to have that kind of thing. And there's other, like Money Game Crypto, I think he's in the UK. Some other people have made some content around it that's interesting. And again, if people can be more efficient and they want to volunteer 30 minutes of their time to use some of these AI tools to basically, build brand, whether it's theirs or others, or, get more of this content out there that is more appropriate for ADD people. A lot of people can't sit through 4 hours, man. I can't sit through an hour and a half. So like, I embrace the AI helping us with messaging.
And we can be on the cutting edge of that. And then Hex could be on the cutting edge of that. All these cryptos can be on the cutting edge of that. That only gives us more advantage and, more control over the future trajectory of the world. We did a show with Phoenix last night, guys. I know it's with Joe Blau. Me and Sam did that house, rocked the house down. What an incredible individual, a Hexican, someone who's been around for a long time, someone who's building. I think everyone that enjoyed this show would really enjoy that show. Pretty open-minded talk. And I wanted to say thank you, everyone. Guys, you are helping me a lot. Everyone in the chat. I don't say this stuff as much as often because I'm usually just spazzing out. But this channel is growing, and I very much appreciate you guys. Like, I'm putting everything I have into this. I know that can be stupid. People think whatever it is. I don't know what's going on up here sometimes, but it's going on here. And without you guys, there's nothing that I could do. I would have to be smacking hammer. So thank you so much for getting me off the tower, as I say, the tower climber talk, because that was scary as shit. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I love crypto, and I love open-minded chats with really smart individuals from around the world. There's nothing. And I'm going to push hard to make this a platform that all you guys can come on. I know you guys are in different parts of your journeys. I'm going to put the effort in to make something special where my friends can come on here and have a valuable time. that's what I want, because that's going to help Funding Jim. Thank you so much for being open-minded. Sam, thank you so much for being here every day. I cannot bless Sam enough. He is so kind to me for being here. It's tough. We're men, you know. You know how it goes, and I appreciate you big time, Sam. Everybody, have an amazing day. I'm going to drop some clips in both of your guys' DMs on Telegram, and I will be spreading some stuff out today. Hey, can you guys let me know, would you rather me post all the clips on a separate channel? Does it make the channel too bogged up? I really need to know that, because I have
build a second channel, build a backup channel. Everybody else has a JRE, Joe Rogan clips. Everybody has a clips channel. Do a clips
I have
channel.
a CITM cast channel. Let me actually put that in the thing right now, because once that gets to 1,000, we're probably going to start posting them all on here. We have 392 subscribers. Let me show this just really quick. And this is thanks to the help of producer Bullish. When he has the time, he comes up and helps your boy. But we do have a little backup channel here, guys. And when this gets to 1,000, I'm going to start posting all the clips here. That was a great idea. So there's that. Please follow that, guys. That would help me a lot. That's Bullish. Put some sweat equity in there. Thank you so much, Bullish. As you can see, Apple's podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, all of these things, guys. We're working as hard as we possibly can. And we're starting the 20-person war room here shortly before I go on vacation. You guys already know about that. Just DM me. Me and Sam can't talk about all our juicy stuff on YouTube, unfortunately. And we're moving about 20 people that are very dedicated to the show to like a little private situation. So guys, be in tune for everything. Have an amazing day. Funding Jim, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Have an amazing day, guys. The bull run's going to be nutty. It's going to be crazy, and we're all going to be so blessed up.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Here to take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
Here to take notes.
Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some hedge on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way.